that wrong. I mean, I'm always ready for you. But every once in a while, I just need a break. Because it's like this constant hum. It's like this swarm of bees, like thought bees, that are, somebody had cracked open my skull and took out my brain, and took a bee honeycomb, and carved it into the shape of a brain, and then put it into my skull, and set me in front of an apiary. Apiary? Is that what a thing of bees are? And then all the bees came, they saw the honeycomb brain, and they zipped inside of it and started doing their thing, and then you capped my skull, and now I've got a bunch of bees zipping about in my head. That's the perfect description of what goes on in here. Bzzz. And that's sometimes what I hear when people speak to me, especially when I'm out in public. They start to talk, and all I hear is bzzz. But not you. When you speak, every word is like a drop of manna from the heavens. And there I was, sitting in a crowd. That's what I just wrote. I don't know what it means. Oh, look. I did have something I wanted to talk to you about. Remember a few weeks ago, I told you the little story about me listening to the song, the new Devin Townsend Project song, and I was just walking with it, and it was one of the first times I'd heard it, and I was immediately inspired for the sequel to Lament. I was so thrilled. Well, the album hadn't officially come out. I was on a VIP list when I got the digital download, so I was listening to it before everybody else got to hear it. Not everybody. Me and a bunch of other people were listening to it before a bunch of other people got to hear it. I'm not that important. Anyway, so the album finally came out, and I got my copy in the mail, and I immediately do what I always do with special albums. I opened it up, and I pulled out the little liner notes, and I started reading what the musician had to say. And it's always awesome, especially with Devin Townsend, because he's so brainy, and I love brainy people. I love to hear what brainy people have to say, because usually what they have to say is far better than what the average person has to say. But anyway, included in the liner notes were the lyrics, because the lyrics hadn't been available to the internets yet. I searched, trust me, and every time I would search the song Higher, which was the song that inspired the sequel, I would get, in one of the various and sundry lyric sites that we always go to, that we didn't have when I was a kid, so we had to guess at what the lyrics were, which is what I did a few weeks ago. And guess what? I was wrong. I was completely and utterly wrong about the lyrics that inspired the sequel. And I'm okay with that. Trust me, I am okay with that. But I just find it funny that I was listening to a piece of music, an incredible piece of music, and you misinterpreted the lyrics for me so that I would hear something specific that would inspire a book. And then I remembered that happened before. And that time, I kind of embarrassed myself with it. It was back when it was a Coheed and Cambria album, and it was the song Afterman. And so I was listening to the song, and it's a wonderful song. It's another band that I like quite a bit. But I was listening to the song, and for whatever reason, I thought the title, or I thought I thought Claudio Sanchez was singing Aftermath. Aftermath. Because my brain and you decided that's what made sense. And that song inspired an idea for a book, a pure sci-fi book that I eventually want to write. So I got into a forum, a Coed and Cambria forum. I think it probably was a YouTube or a Facebook group. And people were talking about the album and how inspirational it was. And I said, yeah, and it's inspired me to write a story. The song Aftermath inspired a story. And somebody very quickly corrected me saying, dude, the title of the song is After Man, not Aftermath. And I was like, oh, geez, sorry, man. I didn't mean to offend anybody. But I'm not going to title the book After Man because that doesn't make sense. At least not in the scheme and scope of the book that I have, that I want to write. So it's going to stay Aftermath. But that was just another instance where you, my muse, decided it would be funny to make me misinterpret lyrics of songs. Of course it's common. Excuse me while I kiss this guy. We've all had those songs where we were certain that the lyrics said one thing when in fact they said another. But that's okay. Because our brains and our ears interpret those things how we need them to be. Especially artists. And sometimes, as an artist, I've got to embrace those mistakes. Because those mistakes very often caused me to travel down a different path than I would have traveled down had I got it right. It's like I see this so often. I see artists afraid to fail. Embrace your failures. Embrace them. We don't grow with success. Financially, we grow with success, but we don't emotionally and mentally and artistically, we do not grow with success. We grow with our failures. So embrace them. Be willing. Just jump. Just dive right in to that failure pond and swim about. And say, I am not afraid of the dark and ugly fishes that swim in this failure pond. They may nibble at my bum. They may nibble on my toes. But they will not drag me down. And I will swim across this failure pond. And when I get out of it, I will be better because of it. Yeah. The failure pond. I've dived in it, dove in it, divin. I've swam it many times. And I'll swim it again. I don't fear it. What's there to fear? It's only water. Metaphorical water. And metaphorical fishes. Metaphorical sharks and whales. And jellyfish. Metaphorical drowning. Metaphorical death. But you know what I'm talking about. That was Morse code. I was blinking Morse code to you. You missed it. Psh, some muse. Can't even speak Morse code. I'm kidding. Of course, you know I'm kidding. You're an awesome muse. You're the best muse. The only muse. You need a hug, muse. You need a hug. Don't you bring it in. Bring it in for a hug. No? Ah! And there I was, sitting in a crowd of people, a crowd of animals, a crowd so thick I could blah, 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 blah.